Todd Monken didn't stumble into this decision. Coaches at this level don't accidentally name rookie quarterbacks as captains during off-season programs. This was intentional, calculated, a message wrapped in a leadership role that most people are completely misreading. Because when Cleveland's offensive coordinator puts Shedeur Sanders in that position before a single regular season snap, he's not just rewarding effort or trying to boost confidence. He's telling the entire organization, the media, and every doubter out there that something is happening behind closed doors that the public hasn't caught on to yet. And that makes this move incredibly dangerous. The offseason is where football really happens, not the highlights, not the primetime games, the grind nobody sees. Phase 1 workouts, voluntary training sessions, film study at 6 in the morning. This is where players figure out who's actually committed and who's just collecting a paycheck. Coaches watch everything. Who arrives early, who stays late, who takes control of the huddle when things get sloppy, who teammates naturally listen to when someone needs to be held accountable. And if Monken looked at all of that and decided Shedeur deserves the captain label, it means the kid is already commanding respect in ways that don't show up on stat sheets. That's not hype. That's real influence being built in real time. Cleveland's quarterback situation isn't simple. This isn't some rebuilding team handing a rookie the keys and hopping for the best. The Browns have expectations, playoff pressure, a complicated roster, and sitting right in the middle of it is Deshaun Watson, a quarterback with one of the most guaranteed contracts in NFL history. Fully guaranteed. That kind of money doesn't just disappear. It creates expectations, obligations, and a political minefield inside the building. Watson's performance hasn't matched the investment. The off-field noise never fully went away. And now you've got a young quarterback being elevated in ways that directly challenge the established order. That creates tension, competition, a power struggle for the soul of the franchise. Only one person can win that battle. The Sanders name is both a gift and a curse. When your father is Deion Sanders, one of the most iconic and polarizing athletes in sports history, you don't get to be normal, ever. Every throw gets compared to someone else's standard. Every interview gets dissected for arrogance. Every ounce of confidence gets twisted into entitlement by people who made up their minds before you ever stepped on the field. Shedeur didn't choose this spotlight, but he was raised in it. Cameras in his face since childhood. Expectations that would bury most people. A last name that opens doors and paints targets simultaneously. And instead of running from it, he's embraced it. That mentality is either exactly what Cleveland needs or a recipe for spectacular failure. There's no middle ground. Leadership at the quarterback position isn't about throwing touchdowns. It's about presence, the way you carry yourself in the huddle, how teammates respond when you speak, whether guys believe in you when things fall apart in the fourth quarter. You can't fake that. You either have it or you don't. And even Shedeur's harshest critics can't deny he has that swagger, that confidence that makes people believe something special might be possible. Coaches talk about the it factor all the time, and it sounds like meaningless jargon until you see it in action. When a 23-year-old walks into a room full of veterans and commands their attention without saying much, that's real. And if Monken is rewarding that with a captain role, it's because that presence is translating into actual leadership behind the scenes. Cleveland's history with quarterbacks is a graveyard. Since 1999, the Browns have started over 30 different quarterbacks. 30. Some were draft picks that never developed. Some were veterans chasing one last paycheck. Some were projects that collapsed under pressure. And every single time, the fan base allowed themselves to hope just enough to get crushed again. That trauma runs deep. It's why Browns fans don't trust optimism anymore. It's why every positive story gets met with bitter skepticism. And it's why this Shedeur situation feels so different. For the first time in decades, you've got a coaching staff willing to go all in on someone this early. That's either the boldest move Cleveland has made in years or the setup for the most painful collapse yet. The microscope on Shedeur just exploded. Being named captain means every single practice rep will be analyzed. Every interception will become ammunition for critics saying he's not ready. Every great throw will get dismissed as off-season fluff that doesn't matter. The people who doubted him before are now waiting for him to stumble. They want the bad game, the blown assignment, the moment they can point to and say they were right all along. That's the reality of playing quarterback in the NFL, especially in a city as desperate and traumatized as Cleveland. The margin for error is razor thin. One rough stretch and the narrative flips. One dominant performance and suddenly he's the savior. That's the tightrope he's walking every single day. But imagine if this actually works. Imagine Shedeur doesn't just meet expectations but exceeds them. Imagine he takes this captain role and turns it into wins, playoff appearances, stability at a position that's haunted Cleveland for a generation. The implications would be massive. It would force the Browns to confront the Watson investment without publicly admitting it failed. It would prove that draft position doesn't define a quarterback's ceiling. It would cement Shedeur as someone who didn't just inherit a famous last name, but carved out his own legacy in one of the hardest football cities in America. And it would send shockwaves through the league, because teams would have to rethink how they evaluate young quarterbacks and when they're ready to compete. The Sanders family has never done things quietly. They don't wait for permission, they don't apologize for confidence, and they don't back down when people doubt them. Dayan built an entire Hall of Fame career on proving people wrong and doing it with style. Shedeur watched that his entire life. He learned how to handle pressure, how to block out noise, how to perform when everyone's watching and waiting for you to fail. That doesn't guarantee success, but it gives him a real chance in an environment where most young players crumble. And if Cleveland's coaches see that same mentality, that same refusal to be intimidated, then naming him captain makes perfect sense. It's a bet on mentality as much as talent. The real test comes when adversity hits, because it will. Every quarterback faces failure. Every leader gets challenged. The question is how you respond. Do you shrink when things go wrong, or do you step up? Do you lose the locker room, or do you tighten your grip on it? Shedeur is about to find out what kind of leader he really is, and the entire football world will be watching. Todd Monken just handed him the platform. Now it's on Shedeur to prove he belongs on it. And that's where this story gets interesting, because the outcome will define more than just one player's career. This is the beginning of something that ends in one of two ways. Either Shedeur Sanders becomes the quarterback Cleveland has been searching for since they returned to the NFL, the one who finally breaks the curse and brings stability to the most important position in football. Or this becomes another cautionary tale about hype, pressure, and a franchise that keeps finding new ways to break its own heart. There's no middle ground. The stakes are too high. The history is too painful. The spotlight is too bright. The question isn't whether Shedeur is ready for Cleveland. The question is whether Cleveland is ready to believe in someone again. Because if this works, it changes everything. And if it doesn't, the fallout will be brutal. What happens next will define careers, reshape narratives, and possibly save or destroy a franchise that's been lost for far too long.